So it sounds like all three of you kind of mentioned that music started off very organically in your lives, and it was more of a hobby more than anything. So was there a defining moment or an instance in which it kind of went from being, you know, just a hobby or something that's always been a part of your lives to something that you realize, oh, this is a little more serious now. This is something that I'm, you know, really invested in more than maybe I ever anticipated?
Yeah, so I run a record label, so it's a little different than, I've been in bands and I still do, but I never had the aspiration to take a band in the sort of serious direction. But with the label, like I said, I really just, the goal of the label was to just help local bands with records that existed as more of a fan. So like if there was a band I really liked and they had a record, like I loved the band, but another label was putting out their music, that wasn't something where I cared. I was like, whatever. I never was kind of going after bands. It was like, these bands can't find labels at the time and we can help. And then after about 5 years, one of our bands was doing so well that another label offered to put out their next record. And my first thought was kind of like, yeah, that's awesome that we can work on, you know, something else, and then I can just have a copy of their record. Because again, this was like, I'm not even that old, but this was like the time when you just wanted, especially these really small bands, you just wanted it to exist, because it just would not exist on maybe a CDR or something, or a dub. And so originally we were like, yeah, go to the other label, and it was a successful label. And I was riding on the bus with my friend Zach, who helps me with the label at the time, to New York, and we were just kind of talking how cool, but like maybe we can actually do this record. Let's make a real offer and say we'll do everything that other label can do, and actually kind of try to really do it. And we went to the band. We called them like from the bus. So cell phones still existed. We called them from the bus, and we pitched them this like crazy idea, and they got back to us like the next day. They're like, yeah, let's do it. And we're like, oh my God, now we have to actually do this a little more seriously. But that was the first time we were like, okay, we're really going to actually try to run a record label, not just like put out our friends' bands. And then a couple years later, there was a band who's become probably our most successful band, Screaming Females. And it was the same thing there, where we talked to them and we're like, listen, like, you have these options from other labels, but we fit better with you, and we're going to do we're really going to do like press and marketing and all these things that are basically, I was like, we'll find out what a real label does, and we will do that for you, because we honestly didn't know at the time. And so they agreed to that, and then it was kind of like, okay, the pressure's on us now to find out what a real label does, and together we've kind of done that. We learned to kind of be like a real label and a real band, but kind of on our own terms without either of us having to move in this other direction. So those were kind of the two times that we really moved up to this, where I was like, okay, I guess I'm actually doing this.
For me, I think some of those definitive moments are personal, in the sense that it was when I was making active choices to do music-related things in place of like meeting up with friends, or like doing things with other people that I would have done, I think, prior to music playing such a large role in my life. So I guess one of those moments was in 2012. A friend was having a birthday party, but I also had a show on that same day, and I was so stressed that whole week. And finally, I like messaged my friend, and I was like, I can't come to your birthday party. And like, he was cool, he was not that stressed about it, but I was totally broken up about it, and in that moment realized, like, wow, I'm kind of sacrificing friendships for this. Like, I don't know if this is a good thing, but this is a big deal, because I'm like a people pleaser. I don't like to hurt people's feelings. So that was one moment. Another was the day that I dropped my first full-length album in 2012 again. I did like a horrible job of promotion. I just literally like posted on my Facebook, like, hey everyone, I dropped an album, and then, you know, went about my business. And then someone tagged me on Facebook and was like, yo, your album is like charting on Bandcamp, which is like a site where you put up your music, you post your music, and people can purchase it. And I was so confused, because I hadn't really said anything. I tweeted maybe like twice about it. And then the next day, my album was on the cover page of like Bandcamp. Like they pick 2 albums to put up on the page that they talk about. I'm not sure if this is still the same format, but my project was there, and I was like, people were like buying the album. My email was like blowing up, and I think then I felt this mix of like excitement and dread, because it was like, oh, this is actually a big deal now. People are gonna be listening to what I have to say. I hope that I said some smart things.
Mine is not that deep. I started taking the DJing seriously when I started getting paid for it. Because, I mean, you gotta think, you know, in a family business, you don't get paid for any of that stuff. I don't care how many hours you work, you know, it's, all right, good job, you know, go sleep. So, and then in college, like I said, I was doing it out of necessity. I was DJing to not pay other people to DJ, you know, so it wasn't until I got up here where, you know, like the party I was telling you guys about, we had the laptops and stuff like that, we switching, it's all sloppy, but people had a great time, and, you know, we didn't ask for anything, and we were literally packing up, me and my homeboys, and the owner was like, here. It was like, what? You didn't like it? He was like, no. I gotta pay you. You guys brought all those people. They had a great time. You know, here's some cash. And we was like, no, you know, we really don't want to take your money. We just did this because we wanted a space to do our thing. And he was like, no, I'm not letting you walk out of here without paying you. So the next time around, you know, there's no pressure because, you know, he's just doing it. Then when somebody, you know, it's kind of like, you know, record label or something like that. Once you get paid for it, it's like, okay, I better take this serious, you know. So that was it.
Awesome, thank you. So I want to switch things up a little bit here. So we've been talking a lot about, you know, music and your accomplishments in that respect. But this panel is not just about music, it's also about academia. And we have 2 PhDs on the stage and 1 PhD candidate. So just to kind of provide a stark contrast to the kinds of things we were talking about, I was wondering if each of you could, in 30 seconds to a minute, summarize in a, I guess, dumbed down version your doctoral thesis or your intended doctoral thesis. Just so you get a sense of, you know, the wide range of things that these people are doing on the stage. So I don't know who wants to go first.
So my PhD is in immunology of infectious diseases. I study T-cell signaling and the ITK kinase. Okay, here we go. So what I study is, I study the immune system, so your body's defense mechanism against diseases and a host of other things. And I look at T-cells, which are your, you know, kind of first, second line of defense for your immune system. And I look at that on a molecular level to see how can we manipulate those signals to kind of customize an immune response. So if I want more T cells, what can I do to that T cell on a cellular level to make it, you know, respond the way I like it to respond? And I look at this in mostly upper respiratory infections in the lungs.
Very real. You probably got the realest degree of 3 of us. It still took me 5 years to get this degree, but I'm just saying, right. This guy probably knows a lot more.
Just T-cell stuff.
So I look at people, I do social sciences, and I can boil it down a little easier, is I look at how people make decisions about risk, and mostly health risk, sometimes environmental risk. So when people do risky things or make decisions between should I do this thing or not, I study that, and from a communication standpoint, but not at a psychological standpoint, so messaging. And then right now I'm working on, it has to do with warning labels on tobacco products for the NIH.
So I'm the only one who doesn't yet have their PhD, so just pray for me. But I'm in the field of science and technology studies, which I actually got he's in my freshman writing seminar, so good to see you. So this field is also social science. Despite the name, I think a lot of people think that they hear science and technology studies and they assume that it's like a Chavez science and not a social science. So this field is interested in like the social construction of science and technology, like how knowledge is produced around those things. And so in the context of my research, I'm interested in a subfield called sound studies. So we think about those issues as it relates to like sound technology, how sound, science, and technology intersect with each other, how social groups emerge in relationship to different technologies that are produced by sound, or that produce sound. In my specific research, I'm interested in the politics of community studio spaces, so spaces that offer sound production tools and teachings to people in low-income communities, and I'm a little bit suspicious of how some of the practices are going on in those spaces, so that's what I'm interrogating.